time when we go through the papers again. Here with me, reviewing them this morning, are the former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and the writer and journalist, Lesley Riddoch. So welcome back to you both. And Dawn, we're kicking off with you this time round, aren't we? And you've picked out the Daily Mail's front page, which talks about a kind of prescription diet to tackle diabetes.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice as a splash for the Daily Mail with everything else that's going on at the moment. But health splashes notoriously sell incredibly well for the Daily Mail and the Daily Express. This particular one, Anna, is an 850 calories a day diet. The NHS hopes will beat diabetes, which is a huge problem in this country at the moment. Type 2 diabetes in particular, which is related to obesity. It costs the NHS £10 billion a year, which is 10% of the NHS budget. This new diet is expected to be rolled out in 2023-24 to people who are already type 2 diabetic, and it consists of soup and milkshake diet that gives you 850 calories a day. Now, research has been going on for over 5 years now that an incredible low-calorie diet will reverse type 2 diabetes. It puts it into remission, as it were, so you can stop taking medication, etc. Now, I've chosen this story, this is personal to me. A member of my own family was diagnosed type 2 diabetes. Did a similar version of this diet, not a prescribed one, but one, we just sort of made up as we went along, and they managed to lose 3.5 stone and put their condition into reverse. It's a great story. It's good news if you are suffering, but I think what the Mail does gloss over, probably quite rightly so, you don't want to scare people, is 850 calories a day, Anna, whether you get it from soup and milkshakes or whether just cutting down on your calories, is incredibly hard work, especially seeing as the majority of people in this country get through around about 3,000 calories a day. So good news for type 2 diabetics, of which there are a growing number of them. Good news for the NHS if it does work and it is rolled out, but just a warning, it is hard work.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. On the subject of the NHS, Lesley, you've picked out a story of a rather different nature in the Times, and this is about staffing in the NHS, which is proving such an issue, isn't it?
Yes, and the Times has done some sort of number crunching and seen that 117,000 people have left the NHS on balance. Some arrive, some go, but the net loss is over 100,000, which is 40% up on 2020. And what they're saying is that the folk who are tending to join the NHS now tend to be not British. 3 years ago, about 3/4 of the net joiners were British, and then they focused a little bit on who is coming in, and they're picking on a scheme that is working, where the British government is trying to get nurses from Nepal. Nepal is on a red list where there shouldn't be anybody basically taking any staff out of that country because its own NHS is in such a wobbly condition, and that would be true of many countries across the world where Britain seems to be actively trying to recruit staff. The British government is saying that actually the Nepal scheme is only a pilot, but the World Health Organization is very critical of what the British government's doing there. And you'd have to say this is all against the backdrop, obviously, of the RCN, the nurses' union, the main nurses' union, voting for the first time in its history to ballot for strike action earlier last week. And actually the BMA looking at the fact that about 3/4 of doctors say they're going to retire early, partly because of taxation arrangements with their pensions. So another perfect storm.
Well, yeah, an awful lot for Therese Coffey to get her teeth into in her role as Health Secretary. Let's move on to the Daily Star, Dawn, and I love this headline. I mean, it does make me feel quite old. So I think probably only people of a certain age will get the reference on the front page. It's from a Two Ronnies sketch, isn't it? I looked it up. It's 1976 it comes from, but explain the story.
I think you'll have to explain the story to me because I'm not quite old.
Oh, well, I see what you did there. I was about to launch in. It's from a Two Ronnies sketch, 1976. Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett, and this is doing what the Daily Star was put on earth to do: is to take a serious, very scary news story about the potential worst case scenario of a 3-hour power blackouts potentially coming this winter,
telling you the story, but putting that spin on it. And this is our 4 candles. And basically, the basic story is because we are also worried about the potential power blackouts that we are stockpiling, which is never a good thing to do, by the way. People don't go and do it. But we are buying more candles and batteries just in case the power does go out. And I am slightly old enough to remember the early 70s when we did have blackouts, and literally huddling around a candle with my mum and my sister and sleeping in the same bed to keep warm, etc., etc. But yeah, there is a run on candles, and the supply is running low because they're also manufacturing costs have made them more expensive to manufacture. So stocks are running out, but please don't go on panic buying. We are talking about a worst case scenario. Blackouts may not happen, but maybe just have 1 or 2 candles around the house just in case.
Yeah, the National Grid says it's unlikely, don't they? But it has made me want to watch that sketch again. Check it out.
I just did. It's brilliant.
Did you just watch it again? Oh, it's very, very. I think there's a confusion over plugs as well, whether it was bathroom plugs or electric plugs. Anyway, before I give away all the punchlines, let's move on to The Guardian next, Leslie, because Glasgow's missed out. Liverpool is going to get the honour of hosting the Eurovision Song Contest, basically on behalf of Ukraine, effectively.
Yes, and as a Scot, there was a little gnashing of teeth about Glasgow losing out. There've been quite a lot of programmes here on the BBC running through all the different bands that could have fronted up that event, including Jim Kerr, a Glaswegian, Simple Minds, The Waterfront. The event would actually have been at the waterfront, right opposite the BBC. But hey, bygones! I mean, the press here is full of the good wishes that are being sent from Glaswegians, from the Scottish First Minister to Liverpool, making the point that basically Liverpool will do a really great job for Ukraine. So it's not about, a kind of punch up between 2 cities. And in any case, Glasgow and Liverpool, 2 dock cities, 2 maritime cities, they're 2 music cities. They're both UNESCO cities of music. So I know my own pals have abandoned their plans to try and race down to Glasgow to get tickets, and they're all going for Liverpool tickets now. So it'll be a great event.
Are you not tempted to go yourself, Leslie?
I have a horror of crowds, actually, having been at COP26 in Glasgow, and I have a slight feeling that a lot of Glaswegians who went through an enormous amount of disruption, actually, to have that happen in Glasgow, might be heaving a slight sigh of relief. Although, obviously Eurovision isn't going to have the entire world leaders there, you'd imagine, would actually not have quite the security problems that COP did.
You never know, with the pressures around at the moment, maybe a lot of world leaders would be queuing up to have a bit of a dance. Who knows? Well. Anyway, we're out of time. Leslie and Dawn, so nice to have your company this morning going through the papers with us. Thanks very much indeed. They've gone. Do stay with us. Plenty more on all our top stories coming up next.